Mm.
A map made for EOC and the like, so please let people know which direction to go.
Yeah, I know they have that in some like evacuation route.
Yes.
Old Lyme has it. Sound View has those.
Right,
Yeah.
and then, like, we could look into things like signage and maybe have, appropriate signage throughout town.
Well,
Things like that.
yeah, let's be careful there because I don't think we need more signs.
Walkability, as you know, we just met, out here is a proposed sidewalk plan. Our intern Kevin Lacey from Eastern has been making changes to that plan based on our previous meeting where this is basically just a big wish list of if you could have sidewalk, where would you put it, where would you make connections and loops, giving us some food for thought, and I guess we're going back, making modifications to that plan in terms of looking at things like coastal inundation, more demographic data. Brian had mentioned looking at a walkability grade for each parcel. So the closer you are to town or a point of interest, let's say your walkability would be higher, then would that be justification or a way to measure whether or not you could build a sidewalk in place X?
And I think, yeah, the example we give there is the if you've driven on West Main Street over towards the Book Barn, the crossing of the Patagonia is very narrow. It's impossible to traverse it safely without entering the lane where people are driving on a state road. So how we do the crossing of Patagonia, we might imagine the people who are west of that crossing presently feel close to Niantic, yet they don't feel it's safe to walk. So those would, to me, be the highest value people to identify, who would benefit the most from a safe new sidewalk. And anyway, the idea would be to create a discussion so that we can weigh these options against each other. The other option, we were presented a petition tonight from a resident of Pine Grove, which touches on the military issue too, which is the road that runs to Pine Grove. Where presently it's a 2-lane road that's narrow with no shoulder. It's dangerous to walk on. I didn't know that they use convoys for it, interestingly, because the secure front entrance to Camp Niantic doesn't, it has those bollards in the way and they can't drive deliveries through. So the deliveries actually go up into Pine Grove, which is not the best place to be doing all your industrial trucking. So anyway, that would be an example of Pine Grove would, if they had a sidewalk straight into Niantic, there might be some value found there in that community.
So Kevin and I will go back and analyze some more of this criteria, so we can drill this down a little better. And then in the meantime, one of the things that he had mentioned, possibly doing a public forum, some sort of charrette, or getting a plan out and just letting people mark it up. In the meantime, I did, as I mentioned during that meeting, I had spoken with the first selectman, and he was interested in starting to weigh in on the plan in terms of cost and financing, how the town would move forward with something like that. And I think that's great. It's a great discussion to have. Maybe there's a percentage of it becomes capital improvement. Maybe there's also another percentage that we rely on existing or proposed development to fill along these frontages. So out of this, there could be changes in both zoning and planning policy in terms of sidewalks. Lots of potential for promoting.
And it's all money, so Board of Finance and people would have to look at it and say that this is adds value to the town to implement this sidewalk plan. We don't know that. We don't know how to prove that, but that's a discussion that's yet to be had.
Being that we have Kevin through December, the end of the semester, it'd be great if we could get all this mapping completed. We have the most information to make these policy decisions as we move forward. So I actually don't see necessarily the final plans until sometime next year.
Very well, and again, the final state of that would maybe become an appendix to our POCD.
I would think we just incorporate it as part of the transportation plan.
Okay, right into it.
Right into it.
Yeah, very well. I'll defer my comments tonight. We'll move on to the approval of minutes. In your packets, you'll find the minutes Brooke has typed up from August 2nd, regular meeting. That meeting, I misspoke earlier, Mr. Siri. I guess I was present at the August 2nd meeting. There was a different meeting that was the really small one.
Yeah, it was a special meeting.
It was a special meeting.
Before or was it after?
Ooh.
I don't know.
Might have been before. Might have been in July. Might have been the second week of July.
I'll look back, I'll make sure the minutes are filed, so we can.
July
Some-
25th.
July 7th.
I don't know if I filed.
Okay.
But I'll
It was recorded on a little cassette machine.
Yeah. Very well. We're looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
I heard from Ms. Bankston,
Second.
second from Mr. Lynch. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? If you were not present at the meeting, present was myself, Ms. Bankston, Mr. Lynch, Ms. Palazzo, Ms. Henderson, and Mr. Scott. So, just to clarify for the record, because Sammy, you voted on it, but were not present.
I was as an alternate.
Oh, you were here? Okay.
I wasn't here.
Oh, you were here. You're fine. That's just a matter of course. Normally, if you wanted to vote but were not present, you just
Gotcha.
state for the record that you've read the minutes. So I lost my train of thought. Did we vote on that yet? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Moving right along. Subdivisions and re-subdivisions. Mr. Gage, we've been keeping the subdivision overview. Has anything changed or status of any of the subdivisions?
Not a whole lot has changed. I just went back through some of my records and going back and what I printed out, basically, I've been tracking since 2015. I'll just let you guys pass it down to the spreadsheet. Breaks down those subdivisions and then going back a little further, as of 9/6/2016. This goes back to 2006, the subdivisions that went through number of lots and the open space. This is actually 2 pages. So what I'd like to do is just take this, unfortunately, we had a little computer difficulty this evening, but get this on a PDF for you, you can put it up, take a look at it.
Sure.
And that, a couple of years ago, you had asked for some additional information. And we were looking at these subdivisions versus some zoning approvals for like multifamily housing
Mm-hmm.
and comparing them. So I have from, I believe it was in 2009, we did this, or just slightly thereafter. This goes up to 2013, stand corrected. We analyzed from the year 2000 to 2013, those approvals for zoning by type, as well as the planning, the subdivision approvals, just to kind of look at the trends and what's going on. I can provide the commission all that same information. We can go back in a few years from 2013 to the present. Not a whole lot has changed. We've had roughly 2, we call them water subdivisions, 5 lots and 8. And that's really been it. The rest have been a sliver here and a sliver there.
Which I think is so such an important observation in the context of the 10-year plan of conservation and development, because a lot of people still anticipate the growth that the town saw in the 90s and the early 2000s. And what I'm hoping this
Those spreadsheets there in front of you, I would keep in mind that those subdivisions are all open. They're not all completed.
Right.
In that the lots have been built out. The streets may have been accepted by the town, but there's still vacant lots out there. From the very north end of town on Holmes Road, so to the orchards, and so there's a lot of stock in terms of lots available. Just because of premium.
which
Keep that in mind.
yeah, which is very because there's a lot. various reasons could explain it. So getting the right reason, is important. The takeaway is that there's a lot of, like you said, lots that have been approved, just there haven't been buildings built on, which is,
So I think, it's food for thought. We had roughly about 2008, 2009, we had updated the POCD. And subsequent to that, we had revised our subdivision regulations for a conservation design development, which was basically enhancing the cluster regulations that we had, really trying to promote the open space concept of either large agrarian open space, if that's where that was a lot that was building out, where you have 100 homes. And, it was built, you got 200 acres, you can build 100 homes, you preserve 100 acres, and cluster the homes. We try to make that a little more user-friendly. We eliminated things like minimum lot sizes, road frontage. But I think times being what they are, we have not seen a large lot subdivision and really had to apply these regulations.
In Waterford, in Oswegatchie, I saw a sign that says "Vote against the cluster subdivision" or something. What is the status of that?
I believe that got approved.
Okay.
And that was, I think, 20 lots.
It's a 20 lot, and is it a cluster? Is it going in as
I
cluster?
believe it's going in as cluster.
Okay.
So, we can look at those things, we can look at our regulations. We've applied our regulations to the smaller lots, and I can tell you, it's difficult. We ended up with slivers, and I go back to Fairhaven Road, a sliver of open space, what do we, against the railroad track. The town doesn't want it.
Yeah.
It really doesn't contribute to, has a whole lot of meaning. It buffers the residents from the railroad track because you can plant it. I just don't, so those types of things I think we could really take a look at. See, are we really getting the meaningful open space that we intend?
Right. Very well. Brings us to zoning referrals. There are none. Municipal referrals. We have the Town of East Lyme installation of 101 feet. 101 plus or minus. What is FT? Feet wide, foot wide main float with associated restraint piles and water electric utilities accessed from an existing float and ramp, and the installation of a new ADA kayak canoe launch float, all waterward of the mean high water and Connecticut coastal jurisdiction lines.
I was expecting Keith Nielsen from DACO to be here. This was a proposal that we had put together for basically a larger dinghy dock at Grand Street. You'll see, note that the letter was addressed to Bill Mulholland as a request for 8-24 came from him to me. It came and received the answer was not yet. So this is his referral to us. The plans were included in your packet. Basically, I would note there's currently no funding available for this project. It's been designed halfway there to approval. So in the future, if and when funding becomes available, we would probably license plate fund or something like that to show up. We would certainly look to seek that funding to construct this project. We're hoping that this is a way that we can get voters, give them the space for their dinghy and so they can walk into town. Right now, there's really very limited space on the river.
And
Very well.
where would this go? Grand Street?
Grand Street. So it won't, it's just gonna make, basically, launching your boat, give you a place to tie it up while you move your vehicle, turn to your boat, as well as an area for dinghies to tie to.
So it's going to include parking?
No, there's no parking associated with this. I believe parking has been off-street or elsewhere.
So do we know that there's action being taken at zoning for it?
To my knowledge, there's not been an application to zoning yet.
So should we just table it and wait for Keith Nielsen to? I would want him to be able to answer questions if
Sure.
we were going to take a vote on it.
I'm not sure, maybe, I know he's indicated here he'd be here, but maybe something came up. So I will reach out to him, we'll table it.
Okay.
In
And
the
the,
next meeting, I'll see if I can get him for that.
and if it's not like zoning will take action on it, we're not going to miss the bus on this
No.
because it's not on their agenda.
Right, but again, this is 8-24 for municipal improvements.
Okay.
So our recommendation goes to the board of selectmen.
All right.
So in terms of, it only impacts funding. So if we found it, say inconsistent, not favorable, then they would need a majority vote to approve the fund.
Commission members, does anyone want to get into this tonight, or should we stand by?
I would like a little more information.
All right, so
think we should
let's make sure that makes it into the minutes. If there's questions on the application and,
Any specific
Where's it,
here?
was the
Well,
application
I'm-
submitted?
what is the status of the application?
This is just a referral, there's no application pending anywhere.
Okay.
So it's not for the zoning.
So why would the Board of Selectmen take action on
They
it?
probably won't until there's funding available.
Okay.
Basically, this is just in the process, they have to get an 8-24 to build this. So if we can get it shovel ready, so when funding does become available, the town will move forward.
Okay. So I suppose my question would be, were other options looked at for, is this the only place that this could happen, or what were the other options? Because that would be,
Several years ago, I did look at other options at Cheney Park. We looked to come off the existing kayak dock there. Concerns from DEEP were eelgrass bed that sits in very close proximity to the area that we were looking at. Their main concern was that crop dredging would occur and impact the eelgrass bed. So basically, any funding that we could have applied for through the boulder infrastructure grant was off the table because of that. So we scrapped that plan. Based on that. So in that process, we looked at Grand Street as a potential. We were able to this particular design.
and this would be year-round? It's be permanent? Because I noticed they called it a float. Is a float not a dock?
Well, it must-
It's a dock, it'll act like a dock.
Well, that's what I mean. Is this something that gets removed in the winter, or?
So that's a question I can.
All right. Very well. Are there any other comments or questions from the planning commission members?
Well, in terms of where the location, my concern would be parking in that area. Is there any way it could be done where, the parking that runs along the boardwalk facing the bay inside? You know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about Cheney Park?
Well, Cheney Park parking, but there's you got the road and then the exit going where the parking is.
Right.
And I know there's a barricade there, but I'm just wondering if that would be a better place to put it, because you have the existing parking.
Well, we'd have to look closer at Cheney Park, but I think our discussions with DEP basically discouraged us from proposing any dinghy dock along that peninsula. And then if you get too far out, you get into the channel, which then you're dealing with currents.
Right,
underneath the
okay.
bridge, make it difficult for navigation.
Was a
All right.
budget ballparked, or did they float an estimate? I don't see anything in.
It's not in this.
Okay. And it does say in his letter, we look forward to making a presentation to the commission on Tuesday night and receiving your comments. And seeing as he's not here, we'll take him on his word that he's looking forward to receiving our comments. So we'll wait
Okay.
for him to make a presentation to us.
Yeah, so I'll speak to him about addressing the seasonal nature, parking, and budget.
Any other questions or comments?
So this is a town project then?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very well. Move into the old business. The Plan of Conservation and Development 2020 update is coming up. We've talked about it briefly tonight. You talked about how the JLS might pair with it. We've talked about how the walkability subcommittee might create a resource for the transportation chapter.
Correct. And I would just add that the climate adaptation subcommittee,
Yep.
that work as well. I don't know if this is something you want to carry forward on our
Yeah,
future agendas?
keep it.
Just keep it?
Yep. Because again, a lot of these things might go nowhere if we don't act deliberately to make sure it reaches the plan of conservation development drafts. New business commission member vacancies. We have a resignation from Arias, and we have a letter of interest from Mr. Don Feimeister. Femister? Femister. I'm writing to you to express my intent, fill in the vacancy as planning commission alternate board member for the town of East Lyme, resident since 1999. Mr. Gishers, would we want to take a vote on this, or?
You certainly can. Basically, you have 30 days or 35, 30 days to fill the vacancy.
Mhm.
If you do not, then it goes to the board of selectmen. So,
Question on,
I don't
does,
know if you recall, I believe he did attend the last
Yes.
2 meetings.
Mhm.
does this fall within the purview of Terry Donovan, who's director of Town Democrats? As opposed to making a nomination?
A lot of times you'll ask for both town committees to, recommend and put a name forward.
Because what happened is I talked to Terry about a week ago, and he didn't know that Arias had to resign.
It's not a requirement, but it's normally.
Okay, all right.
We'll go through the candidate recruitment, but here
Okay.
again, if that takes beyond the 30 days, then it comes to our board.
Okay.
to fill the vacancy.
So I think in either case, I would forward this letter of intent and his resume to the board of selectmen of this commission on that. And leave it to them to help fill the position. Again, now unfortunately, I can't speak to his affiliation. I don't think that is, all I can tell you is that we have a couple of guys.
Carrie, what's his name again?
Don Finister, Phimister, 173 Chesterfield Road.
Thank you.
Seeing as we have it as business and we have the letter here, I'm looking for a motion to appoint Don Femister to the alternate to the planning commission.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Scott makes the motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Palazzo has the second. Any further questions?
I'm confused. I thought we always did this kind of like an executive session.
We've done our recording secretary in when issues have arisen there in executive session, but generally for alternates, we've done it like this.
You're appointing someone to a public commission, it has to be a public. You're not allowed to take any action in executive session.
So we're appointing him with him not being here?
Right.
Board's prerogative.
Okay. Understand.
Who's the gentleman who's sitting right next to me, right?
Right. Black short-haired.
Glasses.
Yep.
And this is, this letter is his official application and qualification?
Yes.
Yeah, this is what he submitted to me. This is a copy of the original. That's all he provided. I mean, in my opinion, you don't need there's no particular application nor would he necessarily need a resume. I think just the letter of intent that he's going to serve as a public. If he was so inclined, let's say, not to be appointed, but he wanted to run in the next election, he could sign up.
It was my impression a resume had to be given on any new applicant. Am I correct, Kevin?
No, a person it's not required to have a resume.
This, in essence, is a resume.
So, yeah, on the back of that.
Oh.
If you look at the other side, there's a resume.
Okay.
But they're, I didn't look at that, yeah. Letter of interest.
Looks like he's had quite some experience in the healthcare industries.
And just for the record, how many vacancies do we have right now on the alternates? I thought it was just areas.
Just a,
Yeah, so this would give us 3.
to be filled,
Sammy's 1. Yep.
yes.
And Mr. Hess is the second. Yep. So it's not paramount we do it tonight. What's your question? Would you rather have him here, or because I feel like
I
he'd
would-
probably just read this to us and sit down.
Are we allowed to ask questions to the applicant?
Of course.
We made a
I
motion
suppose.
and there was a second already.
Well,
We already
we'll
made
end
the
up taking a
motion.
vote on that motion. I just want to make sure to hear out Joan's concern.
No,
Well,
I
I-
just,
Oh, I-
just had questions.
Well, are we done with discussion?
I'm good. I was gonna say if Joan had any other specific questions, I might be able to.
We can amend the motion
I
if you
actually
want
just
to.
don't remember anybody
You
else
could
coming
go to
before
next
the board.
meeting.
Did you? You remember
Two,
that?
you know, I'm just, we'd still be within 30 days,
Okay.
but it would be tight. But there is a motion.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions?
I'm saying.
Any against?
Yes?
Oh, against?
No?
411. He's appointed. Brings us to new business B.
Campaign.
Re-subdivision, 24 Darrell's Ridge Road, East Lyme, Jason Pizzalia, applicant, Paz and Construction LLC owner.
I need to interrupt that.
Sure.
Does that mean that because of the fact that I work for him, that I cannot sit with this? Am I correct?
Very good question. Everyone, if you didn't hear, Rita has a relationship to Jason Pizzalia. She's been employed by him. So this is a question about recusal and
Yeah.
when you do it.
Yes.
And I believe all we are going to do tonight is schedule a public hearing,
Correct.
which would mean that it's an administrative move and you wouldn't be asked for anything that you need to recuse yourself from.
I wouldn't
Okay.
be looking for a vote, I'd just be a consensus that our next regular scheduled meeting, hold that public hearing. We have 65 days to do it, so we could also hold it at our November meeting. Being that it's a one lot, I don't think that the review time would be necessary to go to November.
Okay. So we're looking for, so you don't need to recuse yourself,
Okay.
at least not tonight.
Okay.
And
For the,
are you saying we don't need a motion for you to schedule it? We
yeah,
just,
I just need your consensus that October 4th would be
October
adequate,
4th
and I
already.
will go ahead and schedule that public hearing.
yep. Is there anyone opposed to that? Very well. Mr. Gershel, if you don't mind taking care of that, and then that leaves us one final motion. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I make a
Motion
motion
to-
that we adjourn this meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Palazzo. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
6-0. Thank you all.
Thank you.